Another day, another James Harden report, but this one contradicts what we've heard this offseason, and it oddly ties in things from earlier in the regular season. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, James Harden could be in for a reality check.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into Philly Take with RB. You know the drill. Hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe. You know the vibe. Keep on ringing that bell. Don't miss any of the coverage. It is almost September, ladies and gentlemen, and that means that training camp is almost here. We will have all of the coverage and breakdown for you daily right here on the show, so don't miss it. Today we're back, and what do you know? We have more James Harden drama. Now, we're going to go over a couple reports and really a couple rants that were made about James Harden. We'll talk about whether the substance, though, makes sense. Really, though, what do you think is going to happen? Let me know down below. I continue to ask this, and it seems like every day there's a different answer. Who knows what the realistic outcome is at this point? Will the NBA get involved? Let me know down below. Speaking of the NBA, though, let's start on another side topic, and I thought this was very interesting yesterday. NBA referee, longtime ref, Eric Lewis has retired. If you don't know who Eric Lewis was, he had been under investigation for essentially cheating as, you know, a fan of the Boston Celtics. His family is fans of the Celtics, and Eric Lewis was found to be on a burner Twitter account, pretty much just going at people who were criticizing his calls. Now, this does commonly happen, you know, with athletes and referees, etc., but they revealed a lot of, you know, footage from Eric Lewis and a lot of, you know, just evidence. And then they even had this one clip surfacing, you know, where Eric Lewis had potentially cheated a call, or he looked kind of, you know, displeased when a certain thing happened when a team was playing the Celtics. So, you know, this whole thing was under investigation, but I find it interesting because Eric Lewis retired, and here's what the NBA had to say in their statement. They said, NBA ref Eric Lewis informed the league that he is retiring effective immediately. In light of his decision, the NBA investigation into social media activity has been closed. What? So if you go out and you commit a crime or you do something that is against the rules or the law, and then you retire, or you say, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore, they just end the investigation? How does that make any sense? I don't get it. So they're just going to end the whole thing. And by the way, you know, this guy, to bring it into context here, reffed Game 7 of the Sixers and Celtics. Now, that game wasn't nearly as bad as Game 6. Maybe you remember this tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski, and he put this out the day after Game 6, right? Obviously, that was one of the most brutal losses for the Sixers organization, but in that game, Woj reported that 13 calls were missed by officials that were a disadvantage to the 76ers compared to 4 on the other end. So essentially, the Sixers had 9 blown calls more than the Celtics did, and, you know, this obviously impacted the game. It's not the reason they lost, but it definitely was a huge contributor. And now that this guy, who probably could have been part of this whole thing, you know, as a Celtics fan in the series, retires, the investigation's over. Do you think that's fair? Let me know down below. I just don't get it. Now, another piece of news from Kyle Neubeck. He put out a mailbag article, and I just want to put this in context here because, I mean, the flooding comments about the Ben Simmons video I made the other day have just been nonstop. And here's what Kyle Neubeck said about the return possibility of Ben Simmons. He says, in theory, sure, it is possible that Simmons could come back, just like it is possible I could wake up tomorrow and hit the lottery. Maybe Simmons is a minimum contract player with everything to prove, and the Sixers have a need down the road. Maybe he finally discovers a jump shot, blah, 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 blah. You can make up possibilities and rationalize them in your head, and the fan base is down so bad that I've seen more than a few people entertaining these ideas. Yes, Kyle, yes. Look at all the comments on the last video. Look at the tweet I put up. Look at the community post I put up. There are many fans who actually think it would be a good idea. Like Kyle said, the possibility of that is about as good of the chance as winning the lottery or getting hit by lightning, whatever it is. It's not happening, people. It's not happening, and I would not want it to happen in my wildest dreams. So no. That will not happen, and shout out to Kyle for kind of backing it up. Now, let's talk about the one guy who may come back, may not, and once again, it is James Harden. Now, today, Rachel Nichols was on Undisputed, And she made a statement about James Harden, and I just want to play a little bit of the clip here so you can get an idea of the context.
It's the fact that he is 34. He's not the player that he used to be. And if he can acknowledge that, I think he will continue to have success in the NBA for a while. He is right. Guys want to play with him when he is motivated, when he is into it. And the fact that, yes, as you point out, in game 6 and 7 of that series against Boston, it's not just that he combined for 22 points over 2 games. He had 10 turnovers. Yeah. But he still thinks of himself as the guy from that game 1 or the guy from that game 4. He thinks he should be leading the show. The reason why he wanted out of Philadelphia in the first place is that it's the Joel Embiid show right now. And he wants a different role.
James Harden thinks of himself as the guy from game 1. He thinks he should be leading the show. Now, I will admit, is there much substance here to trust Rachel Nichols? I mean, who knows, right? Who knows what to trust anymore? We've heard every end of the spectrum this offseason. But the reason I think this statement is interesting, and again, I'm not saying I believe it. I don't know if it's true. We're just reacting to the statement. And who knows what Rachel Nichols has been doing. I didn't even know she was on Undisputed now, right? They've had the whole, shift there with First Take and Undisputed. But Rachel Nichols says that, no, it's not really like the money situation. It's more of the role in the offense. And if you take it back a few steps to earlier in the regular season, even near the end, right, when there were the reports about Harden and Doc being head-to-head and they didn't really see eye to eye, Doc wanted James to be more of the playmaker in the offense. James wanted to be that guy more often. He wanted to have a bigger role. That kind of, reflects itself here in this statement, but it's very odd at the timing where it's more of, oh, no, he just wants a role. James Harden doesn't really care about the money here. He just wants to be more involved. He wants to be known as that dude. And I'm just here to tell you, if he really does believe this, if this is true, I mean, he's in for a true reality check. 34 years old. I've said it over and over again, right? No team wanted to pay him out, right? And Rachel Nichols goes on in this clip right after where I paused it to say, James could have punched his ticket anywhere this offseason. And with that, I 100% agree. He could have chose to go to another team where he could have been that guy. But at the end of the day, he wants to get paid. In my opinion, I still think that is the main motive. And even if the role is there with it, you're just not going to be that guy, James. Like, you're not going to be that game 1 guy consistently. What you need to do is realize that you can be a very effective co-star. But in addition to that, you need to show up in the big moments and you need to stay on the damn court. That's where it's at this point. And you think about Ime Udoka, who reportedly did not want James Harden. You think about the Sixers, who don't want to give a long-term contract. There was no other team willing to do that. Right. And we can go back and forth on the intricacies of how it went down behind the scenes with Daryl Morey. At the end of the day, though, James, if you want to go to the Clippers and you want to be a number 1 option, what do you think is going to happen? Do I have to remind you Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are there? Sure, they may miss some time. They may miss some games. But it's not like you're going to play any more of a role there than you did in Philly. I would argue you'd have more involvement in the offense in Philadelphia than in LA, right? They're not just going to go 1-1-1 ISO the whole season. I mean, this is why it never made sense. This is why I continue to reiterate that the best option, the best possibility of James getting that next contract is here in Philadelphia. And if this is the thinking of him and his camp, then again, he's just being misguided. Again, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And Skip Bayless commented on James as well. And he says, quote, I'm an NBA nut, but I am done with James Harden because he's ruining the NBA for me. It's hard to love what he's become. And we know hot take Skip, right? He's always trying to, ride the high wave of the media and the feedback and the interaction. But here I kind of agree with him. Like, it is getting annoying. And just talking with people, even outside of covering the team, etc., just talking on casual terms, there are a lot of NBA fans. There's a lot of Sixer fans who are just tired with the sport. And this is really the main issue of these disgruntled superstars. You're setting a bad example where, these guys can come in, they can sign the dotted line. They can, attest to these services and agree to do these things for 4 years. And then the moment they're unhappy, they can say, I'm done, I'm out, you're not getting anything back, you're not going to get fair value back for this trade, and until you trade me, I'm not playing again. It started with Antonio Brown like 6 or 7 years ago in the NFL, then it was Le'Veon Bell, and then it just was a ripple effect throughout all of sports mostly the NFL and NBA. And at this point, it has just gotten embarrassing. Guys don't want to work for it anymore. They don't want to figure things out. There's no teams that are really kept together more than 3 or 4 years anymore. And, a lot of people do share this mindset, like just casual viewers of the game. They're tired of seeing the same thing over and over, right? You got 5 good teams. The rest stink by mid-season. And then, any team or any player on one of the bad teams ends up leaving the bad team to go to the good team because the bad team can't get good enough to compete with the good. And then it's just a never-ending revolving cycle. And the teams in the bottom second, third of the league just end up going through that same thing. They just end up rebuilding, trying to get good, maybe, build a pretty good piece from within, and then that piece leaves, right? So people are getting tired of that, and I think there needs to be a better way to kind of rebalance the equilibrium. I just don't know when or how it's going to get done. Lastly, Nick Nurse at Eagles practice today. He also threw out the first pitch at the Phillies game. Nick Nurse is more incorporated into the Philadelphia culture and fan base than Doc Rivers ever was, and he hasn't even coached a regular season game yet for the Sixers. That's how you do it. He goes out there, he's acting like Craig Kimbrell. That's how you arouse the fan base, man. That's how you get yourself embedded into Philadelphia. So shout out to Nick Nurse. I think he's going to do wonders for this team, and I can't wait to see what he draws up no matter who is on the court. But give me all your thoughts down below. What do you feel about this James Harden situation? What do you think is the most realistic outcome? Appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.